Tucked into the coastline of southern England, the town of Sidmouth sits right against the dramatic red cliffs of the Jurassic Coast. On the western side of the town, the land rises sharply into Peak Hill, forming a long ridge that stretches inland, straight into the heart of East Devon. From a human perspective, this ridge looks like a patchwork quilt. Modern infrastructure has sliced right through the landscape, breaking continuous woodlands and heaths into distinct parcels separated by ribbons of asphalt. This fragmentation gives the illusion that the ridge is made up of 11 separate isolated locations, places with distinct names like Bulverton Hill, Harpford Wood, and Peakwood. Treating these patches of nature as isolated islands carries a heavy risk. Many of these areas consist of fragile lowland heath. If a habitat is cut off from the surrounding ecosystem, the species living inside it become highly vulnerable to collapse. Our human maps are deceiving us. To ensure the survival of this landscape, we have to look past the dividing roads and recognize the invisible underlying system that binds these patches together. Local conservationists refer to this invisible system as the Peak Ridge Ecological Network. An ecological network is a conservation strategy that ignores physical human boundaries, deliberately connecting fragmented habitats so they can function as a single healthy unit. To build a network like this, sites have to meet 3 strict criteria. They must be in close physical proximity to each other, they need to be owned by sympathetic conservation organizations, and they must share a unified nature recovery plan. This diagram shows how all 11 sites along the western ridge meet these criteria perfectly, even though they are managed by different groups, like the National Trust, the Woodland Trust, and the local district council. Their protected status aligns. In many cases, these sites are separated by nothing more than a 2-lane road. When you map the survey data, the illusion of isolation disappears. Direct borders adjoin places like Greystone and Delderfield, and secondary connections weave the list together. These overlapping borders create continuous physical corridors. Wildlife, seeds, and nutrients flow freely across the ridge. The Peak Ridge Network functions as a single, heavily integrated biological machine, bridging artificial divides to sustain life across the entire ridge. The initial survey focused strictly on the land immediately surrounding Sidmouth town. Ecosystems don't respect survey maps. The borders of this network actually bleed much further out into the surrounding territory. Take Muddersmoor, for example. On the local map, it sits as the most easterly edge of the 11-site cluster. If you zoom out, you see that Muddersmoor directly adjoins the Pebblebed Heaths National Nature Reserve. Suddenly, the amount of connected, protected land multiplies exponentially. A local conservation project rarely ends at the town line. When we protect these smaller networks, they serve as vital anchors that hold massive regional megahabitats together. To see the true architecture of this landscape, we have to pull our perspective all the way back to encompass the entire Sidmouth Valley. This map lays out the valley's ecosystems. Starting on the western coast, West Hill links directly downward to the Around the Town network near Jacob's Ladder. Moving inland, the Greystone and Bulverton Hill sites act as a bridge, tying the western ridge straight into the inland Knapp and Knoll network. At its furthest inland point, Core Hill Wood stretches its reach eastward across open land, fusing directly with the Salcombe Hill network. When you connect all these points, a distinct geometric shape emerges. We are looking at a complete, unbroken horseshoe of protected, primeval habitat that wraps around all 3 landward sides of Sidmouth. This fortress of green sits right on top of the Jurassic Coast World Heritage Site, a rugged, ancient coastline of global importance. This interconnected scale allows nationally scarce species to move and adapt, providing a buffer against the constant pressures of modern human development. Modern nature recovery has moved past the idea of building a fence around a single patch of green. It is an exercise in engineering continuous networks across entire landscapes. If we identify and protect the connections, nature does the rest.